Alright, today is finally the day I get to take you guys on this trip with me that I've been waiting so long to go on. We got 3 different stops. We got one jam-packed video, and it's going to be so fun. We are going to Sleepy Hollow, New York first, New Haven, Connecticut second, and Salem, Massachusetts third, and finally, just in time for Halloween, right in peak spooky season fashion, and we are going to get right into it. It was about 7.5 hours from Cleveland to Sleepy Hollow, our first stop. And of course, we had to start off at Old Dutch Burial Ground and Church. This is the final resting place for the famous Washington Irving. He is the author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Now, there are also some folks here who are said to be the real-life inspirations for characters in the book. First off is Eleanor Van Tassel here. She is said to be the inspiration for character Katrina Van Tassel. How interesting. And some people believe that Hulda of Bohemia is actually the inspiration that Washington Irving had for the entire story. So I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with Hulda of Bohemia. She lived in a hut in the middle of the woods around then Tarrytown. She healed many people with natural remedies, and at that time that was seen as witchcraft. So the whole town had turned their backs on her existence, but she still helped those in need in the town. When the British came during the Revolutionary War, Hulda decided to fight for the same people that shunned her out. She unfortunately got killed in battle in 1777, and they found a Bible and gold on her person. With that, a will that said to leave the gold to the widows who lost their husbands in battle. For the longest time, she was buried in an unmarked grave at the Old Dutch Church because, since she had status as a potential witch, she was not allowed to be buried at a Christian cemetery. Fast forward to present day, she was rewarded a marked gravestone that labeled her as an herbalist, healer, and an American patriot. Now back at the cemetery, the stone of Abraham Martling is said to be the inspiration for the character Brom Bones. And after making our way to the back end of the cemetery, we traveled up a very steep hill to find Washington Irving's grave. This is the most famous grave in the cemetery, and it is the most touristy grave in the cemetery. It had the 2 American flags right there, as you can see, and this is his entire family's plot. And in the very back of the cemetery, there is a recreation of the Sleepy Hollow Bridge from the story where Ichabod Crane believes he is safe and confronts the Headless Horseman in the story's ultimate climax. Historically, the actual bridge referenced by Washington Irving, where the Albany Post Road crossed the Pocantico River near the churchyard, no longer exists. That wooden span rotted away long ago and was replaced by various bridges after that. And now Route 9 crosses a more modern structure, but this was a very cool picture spot. And I honestly think one of the coolest things about seeing Sleepy Hollow in person was all the old architecture that nobody really talks about in the TikTok and YouTube videos and Instagram reels and all that. Even if there's not a huge story behind it, it's still cool and it's still history. Even the high school, like I'll show you here, their mascot is the Headless Horseman. These people really embrace the story here and the legend. We did get a picture by the awesome Sleepy Hollow sign, and there are just so many picture opportunities in this city. They do such a good job decorating. You can walk down the sidewalks. You don't even have to spend money if you don't want to. Just taking pictures here and there is one of the funnest things to do. Like, we stopped in the Sleepy Hollow bookshop here, which was very cool and decorated nice, and so many independent shops all around the city. I definitely recommend supporting these people. They put their heart and soul into this work, and they make some really cool stuff. Like, that candle was really cool. I honestly wish I would have gotten that. Even the fire department, look, even the fire department, they put up all these decorations and just really get in the spirit of Halloween. For dinner, we decided to hit up Horse Feathers, which I saw on TikTok quite a bit while I was planning this trip. Opened in 1981 by Russ Rogers, later purchased in 2018 by Julia McHugh. It is an American pub-style eatery with a cozy, welcoming atmosphere. Their menu was super long. I got the trash can nachos for an appetizer and then a chicken cutlet sandwich for my main course. I definitely recommend adding this to your itinerary. Everything was super good, and we only had to wait about 30 minutes to get seated, even though it was the peak tourist season a week before Halloween. And after dinner, we decided to hit up Ralph's Italian Ice. It was about like 10 minutes away or whatever. Hopped in the car, but we had to because it's New York, baby. It's New York. So forget about it.
Me in New York? I own that city. Forget about it. See ya.
In the morning, we obviously needed a little pick-me-up. Look at my face. So we went to Coffee Labs Roasters, which was in a little square area. Really cute inside. They allowed pets inside, so we were able to see some puppies and have some coffee as well. Before heading to Horseman Bagels, house-made spreads, house-made bagels, so good, and they had some spooky decor as well, which is always a plus this time of year. After breakfast, we decided to head over to the historical Phillipsburg Manor, which began in the late 17th century as part of a vast estate owned by the wealthy Anglo-Dutch merchant Frederick Phillips I, with over 52,000 acres of land. The manor functioned as a milling, farming, and trading complex, but the operation depended heavily on the labor of enslaved Africans, around 23 men, women, and children by the mid-1700s, making the Phillipses among the largest slaveholders in colonial New York. Afterwards, we were planning on taking a tour of Washington Irving's Sunnyside, which was his longtime home, but unfortunately they were not taking any more tours for the day, so we just stopped in the gift shop. And as we departed out of Sleepy Hollow, our first stop had to be Stu Leonard's, a very famous grocery store. They have animatronics all throughout the grocery store that sing and talk. This place reminded me a lot of jungle gyms back home in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was going to unmute some of these videos so you guys could hear the animatronics. However, it was so loud and so packed in here today that you really couldn't hear them too well. I know there's other videos out there where you can see a lot of them, but I still thought it would be cool to showcase some of my favorites that I saw. The roots of Stu Leonard's trace back to 1921 when Charles Leo Leonard founded Clover Farms Dairy in Norwalk, Connecticut, which pasteurized, bottled, and delivered milk locally. As home milk delivery declined in the 60s, his son shifted direction. In 69, he opened the first Stu Leonard store in Norwalk, a 17,000 square foot dairy shop carrying just 8 items. It quickly expanded, became famous, and the New York Times eventually dubbed it the Disneyland of dairy stores. In 1991, his son took over as president and CEO, and the chain gradually expanded with 8 locations as of 2025. Stu Leonard Sr. unfortunately passed away in 2023 at the age of 93, but he left behind a grocery legacy that blends retail innovation with entertainment and community involvement. Here we are trying some of the guacamole that they had literally just made and packaged right in front of us. It was outstanding. We had to go a little bit out of the way for our next stop. However, I had to see it in person. It is too iconic. That's right, we are seeing the Amityville Horror House, located at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. This Dutch colonial-style home was built in 1927, but in 1974, as you may know, the house became infamous after Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered 6 members of his family inside the home. In 1975, George Lutz and Kathy Lutz purchased the home but fled after 28 days, claiming terrifying paranormal experiences. Their story inspired the best-selling book, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson, followed by numerous films, but most famously the 1979 Amityville Horror. Another tidbit that I wanted to mention, which I thought was pretty cool, is some believe that the house was still haunted during the 2005 Amityville Horror movie because the cast and crew all woke up at 3:15, which is ironically and mysteriously the same time that the murders happened in real life. About 10 to 15 minutes away is the Haunted House of Hamburgers. This was our lunch spot for the day, and it was absolutely amazing. This is a fully decked out sit-down restaurant, fully Halloween-themed, animatronics, decorations, cool lights, boarded-up windows, everything you could want a week before Halloween. Now, I would like to mention that this place is reservation only in October. I unfortunately didn't know that, but the manager let us in, and I obviously told her that we would be saying some very, very nice things about the restaurant and very, very nice things about her. So we appreciated her for letting us in and take in the atmosphere and get some drinks, some food, and we were just blown away the whole time. The drink was amazing, and the food was even better. Now that the sun has set, we decided to go to the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze in the historic Hudson Valley in New York. This is a very cool event. It features thousands of hand-carved pumpkins illuminated and arranged into elaborate displays. It began in the early 2000s and quickly became a seasonal tradition here, especially to people visiting the Sleepy Hollow area. It runs from late September through October, and it's obviously most packed on the weekends, but it is the largest and most famous jack-o'-lantern event in the United States. And note, it is timed entry, and it can get very busy. But this place was so cool. I took videos of the ones that I thought were the coolest, and for this season, I looked up, there's more than 7,000 hand-carved jack-o'-lanterns for the 2025 season, and I'm sure that number is just going to increase next year and the year after and the year after. I definitely recommend you visiting this when you come. The next morning, it was time to say goodbye to New York and say hello to Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. Right now, I am at the door to the Skull and Bones Society. If you want a little bit of a spooky, interesting read, I definitely recommend you look up the history of this secret society here at Yale. It's very interesting and very odd. But any architecture that you walk around Yale and see is going to be fantastic. It's a great morning walk. But after we took a walk, we went to the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. It's famous for its translucent Vermont marble walls that you see here, which filter sunlight to protect the books while giving the building a glowing appearance. It holds hundreds of thousands of rare volumes and millions of manuscripts, and the mysterious Voynich manuscript and the Gutenberg Bible. This is such a cool place. They have 6 floors, including the basement, and it was opened in 1963, funded by a group of brothers to honor their father. One really crazy thing that I learned while I was there at the library is that if you want to go into the glass viewing area or down in the basement to check out a book in the reading area, you have to sign a waiver, which basically says in the case of a fire, you acknowledge that all the oxygen gets removed out of the air and the doors get locked from the inside, trapping you inside and suffocating you. This protects the books in case of a fire, and the system that they have in place is really crazy. I was even looking, I saw like the pipe system that probably sucks all the oxygen out of the air. It's wild. Our next stop brings us to Stepney Cemetery in Monroe, Connecticut, to visit the grave of Ed and Lorraine Warren. They are buried together here, and it has become a place for fans and paranormal enthusiasts to visit. Lorraine was a clairvoyant and medium who assisted in the investigations, and Ed was a self-taught demonologist and author. They worked on the Amityville Horror House, Annabelle, and other high-profile hauntings, and their work inspired the famous Conjuring film series. They also founded the New England Society for Psychic Research in 1952. Next up, it's not a trip to New Haven, Connecticut without trying their famous upbeats. We tried Sally's and Frank Pepe's to see if Dave Portnoy really knows what he's talking about or not. And I gotta say, Frank Pepe's is the clear winner. Sally's kind of just tasted like Chef Boyardee sauce, but Frank Pepe's really took the cake. And also we stopped at Louis' Lunch. This is the first burger joint in the country. They invented the burger. Established in 1895, it's been designated a National Historical Landmark. The burgers are cooked in original vertical cast iron broilers from the early 1900s, and only cheese, tomato, and onion are allowed served on bread. No ketchup or mustard. This ain't Burger King, according to them, and it's always cooked medium rare. After a 3-hour drive, our first stop in Salem, Massachusetts is here. It's the Samuel Paris Archaeological Site, and this is the most forgotten about and least visited spot when tourists come to Salem, and that's because it's not in Salem. It's in the neighboring city of Danvers, which was formerly Salem Village. We had the whole place to ourselves, and it's very important to note that this is the verified ground zero of the Salem witch trials, where fear, religion, and accusations first ignited in 1692. It's nestled in between two functioning houses with people living in them. You walk down this little path, but the archaeological site here marks the location of the former Salem Village parsonage, home of Samuel Paris, who was the Puritan minister whose household was central to the witch trials in 1692. The accusations began in Paris's own household, involving his daughter Betty, niece Abigail, and enslaved woman Tituba. Our next stop also keeps us in the city of Danvers, Massachusetts. This is the Bradley Danvers Apartments, and if they look familiar, it's because it is the filming location for 2001's Session 9. This was a great horror movie, and very, very underrated for the early 2000s, which had a ton of good horror movies.
You coming in? Hey. Fuck you.
This is the former Danvers State Mental Hospital site that was closed in 1992. These stairs behind the complex that lead to a nature trail were also visible during the movie. And our trip landed on the opening weekend for the Black Phone 2, so we went to the AMC near Danvers to watch. Amazing. Now it's time to start checking out the goods of Salem. They're Dunkin', oh my god, purple slime everywhere. They really outdid themselves for decorations. We saw the witch statue, we saw the witch house, and we even got a ticket for the tour, which be aware that they go on sale at 8 a.m. each morning for that day only, and they sell out very, very quick. There was no videos allowed inside the house, but I did want to show you guys the exterior for the most part. Overall, this wasn't honestly my favorite experience, but it is very cool that it is the only remaining structure in Salem directly tied to the 1692 Salem witch trials. This was the house of Jonathan Corwin, who was a judge and magistrate during the trials. Our next stop takes us to the first of many Hocus Pocus filming locations here in Salem, Massachusetts. This is Rope's Mansion, also known as Allison's house from the movie. It was used for exterior shots only, but it is an 18th century Georgian colonial house located at 318 Essex Street. Operated by the Peabody Essex Museum, it is one of England's most thoroughly documented historic homes and a film landmark. They also have a very cool garden in the back. If you're looking for a nice gift shop or some really good coffee, check out Blackcraft Coffee. This place was absolutely insane inside. Please be aware that if you are coming in September or October, this is another spot where you need reservations to actually get coffee. I didn't even get reservations. I wanted to try their coffee, but I was starting to look in August for a late October trip, and they were already sold out of spots. So I recommend checking their Instagram for Blackcraft early as late July, early August if you're coming in late October. When in Salem, you have to visit the Charter Street Cemetery, also known as Old Burying Point. Established in 1637, it's commonly cited as the second oldest public cemetery in the U.S. If you're coming in late September or October, reservations are required. They're free, but they go live 8 o'clock a.m. each day on charterstreetcemetery.com. Next to the cemetery, they had a really nice memorial honoring those who lost their lives and were hanged during the witch trials. People left flowers, little tokens. This was definitely one of those spots that felt very, very heavy. Like you could feel all the sadness, all the loss, and it definitely pulled you out of that touristy feeling for a little bit until you walked back out into the street. I definitely recommend paying your respects and just really knowing that this city is a place founded on a tragedy. Some other great spots to stop is Why Not's Homemade Wands and also the old town hall from Hocus Pocus. Very, very cool. From Hocus Pocus, you can also visit Max and Danny's house at 4 Ocean Avenue, but please be mindful that people still do live here. This is what the house looked like in 1993. Afterwards, we headed to Proctor's Ledge, named after John Proctor for one of those executed. It is the long-lost, now confirmed place where the Salem witch trial executions actually occurred, identified by historians in 2016 after years of debate about the exact execution site. It's at the base of Gallows Hill, near present-day Pope Street in Salem. It's behind a Walgreens, or an old Walgreens, but in total 19 people were hanged right here for witchcraft between June and September 1692. It is a very, very heavy spot, but it is a very important spot that historians finally figured out where this all happened. On a lighter note, Yield Pepper Company is widely recognized as America's oldest operating candy company since 1805. They're known for Gibraltars, which is a hard striped candy, and Blackjacks, which is like candy canes. They retain their intentionally archaic spelling to reflect its early 19th century origins. Their antique molds, tools, and ledgers make it feel like stepping into a living piece of food history. And speaking of food history, Funhouse Donuts is the pinnacle spot for Halloween donuts. They got all different shapes, characters, flavors. I got the Hocus Pocus ones, and it was like an apple flavor for one of them, and the book was like a cinnamon flavored one. Very, very good. Our next stop takes us to Marblehead, Massachusetts for Old Burial Hill. This cemetery is 1 year younger than Charter Street Cemetery, but it plays a memorable role in Hocus Pocus. It's the real graveyard used for Billy Butcherson's resurrection scene. Billy's specific grave marker was a prop. It's not a real burial headstone, but this place is a popular fan pilgrimage, especially in October, though it's much quieter than Salem. You'll even recognize the uneven colonial headstones, sloping paths, and coastal backdrop, which give the scene its authentic 17th century feel. And our final stop, but this was my favorite stop, it was the Salem Night Fair in Pioneer Village in Salem. This was actually another Hocus Pocus spot. The opening scene of Hocus Pocus was filmed right here, and you can even see the old huts in the background. But the Salem Night Fair is a popular evening festival that blends history, fantasy, and Halloween atmosphere. It's in select nights in October, and it is outdoor lantern-lit fair inspired by like 17th, 18th century markets. There was live music, costume performers, artisan vendors that had handmade goods, oddities, apothecary-style items, bath items, jewelry. It's family-friendly early in the evening, as you can see, but it can get very, very crowded, especially since it's on a weekend, and tickets are required, and they sometimes sell out in advance, so I would recommend you researching it before you come to make sure you land on the right date. And that you can come, because it's very cool. This is probably one of the coolest Halloween events that I've ever gone to, and I wish we had something like this in Ohio that I could go to every year, but we don't. Well, thank you guys for watching this jam-packed Sleepy Hollow, New York and Salem, Massachusetts itinerary video. I hope you guys were able to maybe learn something new, or you got a couple new places to add to your own itinerary for when you go to Salem or Sleepy Hollow next. Drop a comment down below if you're going to copy any of these places or if you learned about anywhere new. I definitely enjoyed this trip. It was so fun, and I definitely hope you guys enjoy your trips if you're planning on going this Halloween season as well. Stay spooky. See you in the next one.